Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today for another Living Life Naturally podcast. And today we have the pleasure of having Dr. Sarah Doyle with us. She is a doctor of physical therapy, a certified functional medicine practitioner, diplomat with the American Clinical Board of Nutrition, founder of drsarahdoyle.com, creator of the 7-Time Method Biohacking Bootcamp, and co-founder and principal clinician of the HealWell Regenerative Institute in Miami Beach. She is also the author of the Thin Formula and the 7 Times Method. So, through functional medicine testing, evidence-based protocols, and lifestyle modification coaching, Dr. Doyle has developed a proven system that has helped her clients lose weight, increase energy, and sex drive. So, sexual vitality is an important indicator of your overall health. Nobody wants to spend the last years of their lives sitting in a wheelchair, being bedridden, bouncing in and out of hospitals, or being a burden to their loved ones. So her focus is on root cause medicine and all natural solutions that have no side effects. So her mission is to keep people out of hospitals and off prescription medications. So, a very, very warm welcome to you, Dr. Sarah Doyle. We are thrilled to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And tell us where you're joining us from.
I'm from South Beach. I love Miami Beach. I'm here for the nature. I
Mm.
love rollerblading, seeing the sunrise on the beach. There's boardwalks for bike riding and long walks, and it's a really great place to enjoy nature.
Yeah, we're lucky because we're kind of West Central Florida, but we live on a lake. So just being outside, having our coffee in the morning is just such a cool look at nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know today we are going to discuss menopause, perimenopause. So I know there's a lot of confusion for women, and maybe you as a listener are having this confusion. What is the difference between menopause and perimenopause?
Sure. I think let's just think of perimenopause as like puberty. It's our second puberty. And that's when you start skipping cycles and start having the symptoms of hormone imbalances and even brain chemistry imbalances. Because as your hormones fluctuate, so do your brain chemicals. Menopause is technically when you've gone 12 months without having a period and the ovaries are shut down and your body has transitioned to your last phase of life.
Well, so that's going into postmenopause, and that brings in a host of hormonal issues all on its own.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And I tell everybody once they turn 40, start getting your hormones checked every year. If your doctor won't do it, find another doctor. If not, then you can find people like myself online where we do functional medicine testing. You can do it in the comfort of your own home. So there are options out there. Just stay on top of it for sure.
Right. I know there for many years it wasn't even available for women to get the testing that they need. And of course, so many times you go to maybe a gyno and they want to just do a basic blood test. And so what kind of lab testing do you do that really pinpoints where the hormones are at?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is frustrating when you go to your regular
Yeah.
doctor and the things that I do are urine panels. So the urine panels will capture metabolites of everything that just happened in your body. So we can capture the diurnal pattern of your cortisol output. Most of us don't realize that our adrenal glands that are right above our kidneys, not only do they make stress hormones, but they also make sex hormones. So when your ovaries retire, your adrenal glands are going to take over and they make androgens, which eventually convert into estrogens. So if you don't take care of your stress in your perimenopausal years, you're going to be kind of out of luck when it gets to your postmenopausal, like your body's not going to have, you're not going to have any reserve. So that's the one key thing I look at And then the other things is that we get the metabolites of progesterone, which allow me to differentiate between what enzyme is dominant, the alpha 5 alpha reductase or 5 beta reductase. It'll also help me identify if there's some backdoor metabolism of progesterone into testosterone. It'll help me see if your testosterone is converting into dihydrotestosterone, which causes that female pattern hair loss. Nobody likes that. And then really important because I mean, right now I have two friends going through breast cancer. We all know, so the other real important thing is I capture the estrogenic metabolites, which could be, they could indicate like either inflammation, low thyroid, which could be subclinical that your doctor can't capture by blood work alone. And it'll also capture some, potentially carcinogenic metabolites that, can contribute to estrogen like cancers, like, ovarian cancer, breast cancer. So like tumors, a lot of times they have a lot of insulin receptors on them because of blood sugar dysregulation, but then they'll also have a lot of estrogen receptors on them.
Yeah, it's really helpful because it's, women have to also realize if they just go in and get a simple blood test, it depends on where you are in your cycle as to what the results of that blood test are going to be.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of doctors don't know how to coach that. And it's because they just weren't educated in school. A lot of research is driven towards white males and, even OBGYNs only have 6 to 8 hours of education in menopause. Most of it's driven towards, infertility and pregnancy and just like the research funding, NIH. So, that is shifting. There is a paradigm shift, thank God, but it's still not, when you comparing like the amount of funding that goes to different things, it's not great, but it's at least a step in the right direction. At least we're, crawl, walk, run, and at least we're maybe.
Yeah. So I know that if our hormones are off, so what diseases are triggered by those fluctuating or decreasing hormones for a woman?
I think the number one thing is probably depression. The amount of antidepressants, and I would say anxiety. The amount of Xanax that gets prescribed to women for just sleep disruption, instead of looking at the root cause, maybe having low progesterone is contributing to the insomnia. The doctors don't know to look for that because they weren't trained in that. And so a functional medicine doctor will look at the root cause and say, hey, why don't we, look at your progesterone? Let's take some herbs. So that's what I do. Most doctors are like, hey, take this pill before bed. But I'll be like, take some herbs. Let's remove some toxins. And let's see if we can boost your progesterone so you can sleep better. Because progesterone has a calming effect. So as perimenopause starts, usually progesterone drops first, and women will notice that they have anxiety about things that they didn't used to have anxiety about. It's like, what? I never used to freak out about this. Why am I freaking out? And it's simply because progesterone is dropping. And then the other thing is when your estrogen starts dropping, that definitely affects the serotonin in your brain. We have estrogen receptors in our brain, which do a whole lot more. I can get into that, but I would say depression and anxiety, definitely. I was just reconnecting with one of my old friends I used to work with in the hospital. I hadn't seen her in like maybe 4 years. And her doctors got her on Xanax for sleeping, an antidepressant, and the antidepressant was giving her like, she said, I'm having trouble reading. And she's like, I can't read the labels on things. And it's from the antidepressant. And like, why didn't he just look at her hormones? I mean, I can tell from her body that her hormones are out of whack. And it's sad, So here she has been struggling with hormonal imbalances, and the doctor's slapping on an addictive benzodiazepine and, an antidepressant that's affecting the neurotransmitters. Where, like in my coaching program, I also test for urinary neurotransmitter metabolites. So I can look at your serotonin, your GABA, your dopamine, norepinephrine, phenylethylamine. Like people with their ADHD, like we can look and see, do they really have low PEA and norepinephrine? Okay, cool. Well, then let's take some amino acids and some herbs and some minerals to stimulate that production. Is it a genetic thing? Is it a nutritional deficiency? There's a lot of things we can look at. And, with the standard American diet, there are a lot of nutrition deficiencies. I mean, when I get women in their 60s, men, I get men and women, and I look at what's going on with their brain chemistry. I'm like, oh my God, they're so depleted. So, changing the diet and eating organic foods will help. But I go kind of heavy on the phytonutrients and the minerals just to get them back to where, and they start to feel better. Like, wow, I have energy. I'm like, yeah, you think? I mean, it's like, you think about chemistry class. I mean, I don't remember when we started those chemical equations, like maybe sixth or seventh grade, and you're doing all those, the carbons and the oxygens. Like you need to have certain things to happen. And if you don't have those elements present, you're not going to get the chemical reactions that are supposed to be taking place. And yeah, you're going to feel tired.
Yes. So what do you tell the woman who is having hot flashes?
Well, I like to get a test just to get a baseline so I can see just how bad she is, how bad are the levels and see where I need to supplement. I use pregnenolone. Pregnenolone is a precursor. And so if I get the results and say like her cortisol is really low, her DHEA is really low, her progesterone's really low, her estrogen's low, her testosterone's low, I'm probably going to give her more pregnenolone than somebody who just had like two of those things that are low, right? So we test it to get the dosing proper. And then that allows me to see which cofactors are missing in her diet and what vitamins, minerals, and herbs we can use to bring things back into, a good range to where she feels good.
Mm. So when you implement herbal remedies for them, do you do it in a tincture form? Do you do herbal supplements?
No, I use supplements. I use a company for now. I'm starting the research process to do my own supplement line because there's certain things I'm like, oh, I want a little bit more of this herb and this supplement. I've been using Designs for Health for 4 years and I do like them, but there's like a couple things I really want to change. And I've been using it's easy. My clients can go online and put repeating orders just like as if they were on Amazon, and it's easy for them. It gets delivered to their house. The dosage is on the label. They can figure it out. So that's what I have been using. And it works pretty well. We do before and after testing and people make really great strides. And they get to the point where like they don't have to go to the doctor anymore. They don't, they can play with their grandchildren. They don't have the arthritis goes away. I mean, that's another big thing that we don't talk about is the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. I used to have a physical therapy clinic. I just sold it a few months ago inside a hotel in Miami Beach. And it was a former Canyon Ranch. So a lot of people that live there, it's kind of like a retirement campus for people who want to do like 4 fitness classes a day, right? And there's like a juice bar. They're very into the healthy living. And I would get women who are like, oh God, my hip hurts, my knee hurts. So, I went to the orthopedic surgeon, they did an MRI, and then I went to another physical therapist. That didn't help. Like, can you help me? I was like, yeah, but it's not going to be physical therapy, honey. We're going to work on your hormones. And that's the missing link. And then, finally they get their estrogen up and their hip pain goes away. So that's another thing too, is like, there's a lot of needless utilization of insurance money on MRIs and all this for like knee pain, hip pain, joint pain. And a lot of this arthritis and these diffuse, orthopedic pains are simply from low estrogen.
Yeah, interesting. So that's kind of from a woman's perspective. What about for a man when they're in midlife or going through? I know they don't like to think about they're going through anything like we do, but they start getting more hip and joint pains as well. So what would a man be able to do for that?
Yeah. The word andropause, or I saw some advertisement that called it manopause. Um, yeah, I know. I do get men, and I think their chief complaint is belly fat. They can't lose, brain fog. I don't get as much of the joint complaints from men. But they do get more pain. Like that's like something they told us when I was originally a physical therapist, so in physical therapy school. Like you can work on a man. I can treat his back pain like 20 times, but if his testosterone's like at 200, the back pain's not going to go away. So, I do a comprehensive approach. I have my book up here, the 7X method, where I start all my clients on a 7-day reset where we reset what they're eating. They use food as medicine to reset their metabolism. And we pull a lot of garbage out of the diet because there's a lot of garbage in the diet. So when we pull the garbage out, a lot of the inflammation goes away and their joint pain goes away that way. But there are herbs we can use to bring up testosterone, and they work pretty well. But my clients do good.
Good. So tell us a little more about your 7X method.
Absolutely. In 2020, I went to stay with a friend in Central America to
Mm.
get some dentistry done. I had a car accident where I had some trauma to my teeth and I needed implants and I wanted a biological dentist and I couldn't afford it. The United States, it was like 30 grand. And I was like, I can't afford that.
Mm.
I don't know why dentistry is a luxury. I could go down that rabbit hole because it's really important to have good dentistry and dental health. But when I was there, my friend is like, "Oh, you got to meet this guy in town. You guys are always talking about the same things, energy. I think you'll really hit it off." So this guy happens to be a liaison for this quantum medicine program in a remote part of Central America, where it's been around for over 50 years at this point. They were in their 49th year back in 2020 and they have been healing people from diseases using food as medicine, and it's all based in circadian rhythm. So in this, the way that they eat now, mind you, they didn't give me any of like the cancer remedies or any of like their miraculous things. They just gave me the basic timed eating protocols that decrease inflammation and prevent disease. So what they believe is there's no such thing as calories. The whole way that we measure the energy of food is wrong. And they have 7 different food groups, and the energy they measure it using more like spectrophoto. I always struggle with this word. There's spectrophotometry. So this device is used in manufacturing, for everything from pharmaceuticals to paint to colors. It's used commonly. Like it can tell the difference between olive oil from Spain or from Italy or different wines. It's used, they use spectrophotometry like in our ground beef to tell if it's 80-20, 10-90, the fat percentage. So they use spectrophotometry to determine the energetic frequency of food, and they've created 7 food groups. Well, these 7 food groups correlate with the circadian rhythm of 7 different groups of organs and systems. So, and they color them. So just like there's 7 colors in the rainbow, I'll just give you an example. For example, the green group is between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., roughly when the sun is in the highest point in the sky. And at this time of day, the dominant wavelength from the sun is actually green. And all the foods at that time are like green foods, like all of our salads, a kiwi, avocados, all that, right? So these foods, the frequency of these foods will nourish our sensory organs and our kidneys. So like our genital urinary tract, our ears, our sense of taste, and it goes so on and so forth. So there are 7 food groups. They all nourish different organs and systems. So I was kind of skeptical, but I'd had digestive problems like heartburn, trouble sleeping. I had a bad reaction to an antibiotic when I was 22. So for 20 years, I struggled with chronic candida. I took digestive enzymes with every meal. Like if the bottle said to take 2, I took 4. Like, my stomach was a wreck. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, I have nothing to lose. And after 2 weeks, I never needed a digestive enzyme again. It's been 4 years. I haven't taken a digestive enzyme since, unless I go off the diet, unless I, eat foods at the wrong time. So you still eat foods, you just change the time of day that you eat them. And I used to have trouble. I used to eat a salad every night for dinner because I didn't want to get fat, right? That's a woman's thing. And the guy was like, I bet you have trouble sleeping. I was like, oh, yeah, I can never fall asleep before midnight unless like I'm sick. And he's like, yeah, because you're eating that green food has too much kinetic energy. You're supposed to be eating that at, like I said, between 11 and 1. Then you don't need a coffee in the afternoon to get through your day. And I was like, imagine that. So it completely changed my life, and I integrated it into my coaching program. And my clients are like, what is this diet? Like I lost a whole pant size and I didn't even exercise. Like it's just from the inflammation going down, because you think of disease, it's metabolic miscommunication. So if we can restore the metabolic miscommunication among the systems, then it just takes away the inflammation because everything's communicating properly. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And I'm sure that helps with the one big thing that women in perimenopause talk about is that belly fat.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's cortisol driven. And it definitely helps with that. So the belly fat is because, like I said in the beginning, when your adrenal glands can't function and produce androgens that convert to estrogen, your body's going to deposit belly fat, because in that belly fat is an enzyme called aromatase. And aromatase will convert your androgens into estrogen. So if you're totally stressed out all the time, like if I'm really stressed out, I get a little cortisol belly too. And I'm like, okay, get it together, get some sleep, do your meditation, go to yoga, get it down. Like I can tell.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so where is your book available?
Oh, it's anywhere books are sold. You can get it. It's an Audible. Also, if you like to listen,
Mm.
it's in Kindle or Barnes and Noble Nook, and it's paperback, and it's distributed by Simon and Schuster.
Hmm.
So it's available anywhere books are sold.
Awesome. And I believe that you have something else for our audience today.
I do. So I have a biohacking boot camp, and the biohacking boot camp is 10 to 12 weeks, depending on how much time you need. And we do every week we have a mastermind on Tuesdays where I teach about like the thyroid, cortisol, hormones, and then they have 24/7 access through my phone. We have a WhatsApp chat. I have an online course so they can get into the online courses, and they do really well. I'm going to give your clients a discount because it saves me a lot of money on advertising. People, if you don't have an online, you don't realize if you don't have an online business, like I spend so much money on advertising, I have to charge $5,000 for that group coaching to recover my money. But
Mm.
if you sign up through the podcast, I can save that money and pass those savings to you and give you a $2,000 discount. So I'll provide you with that discount code, and you can put it in the listen notes for everybody. All you have to do is, if you're curious and you want to look at it, or if you want to book a 30-minute call with me, or it's a telehealth session, just to kind of discuss where you're going. Maybe you have some tests from other doctors and you want to figure out, like, maybe you think that maybe you've got like a parasite or a mold or Lyme disease, or you're struggling with some other things. You can reach me at drsarahdoyle.com. It's DRSARAHDOYLE.com. And you can book a call from there. You can check out my Instagram and YouTube. The handle is 7X Method. So it's the number 7, the letter X, METHOD. And you can message me there. You can see some content. Try not to manage your health through following influencers. You can't waste time, because this is a startling fact that I've learned in the last few months by following this scientist at Cornell, is that 1 out of 6 Americans gets Alzheimer's, and women are twice as likely than men.
Mm.
And during perimenopause, when we start skipping periods, is when our brain starts laying down those plaques. So it is super, like, you cannot wait till you're 60. If you've already waited till you're 60, at least get some help now. We can turn around somewhat. But if you're in your 40s, the time is now to prevent heart disease, prevent Alzheimer's, and certain cancers. So get on board with your health. You don't get diagnosed with these things until 20 years down the road, but these things start developing now. I used to work in hospitals. So it's like, after working COVID ICU, I made it my mission to keep people out of the hospital. I saw so much death. The hospitals are an institution. They're like a prison, and you don't want to end up there. Be proactive.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'll put all of your links in the show notes, and I appreciate all this great information. And I would encourage our listeners to reach out to Dr. Sarah and take her up on her 30 minutes. I'm sure that she can really help you. Thank you for joining me from the south of where I live. It's a pleasure to talk to somebody who's so close to me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Living Life Naturally podcast, where we're on a mission to inform, inspire, and encourage women to live their best life confidently, joyfully, and freely from what's been holding them back. For show notes and free resources, visit holistic-healthandwellness.com. And I'd be delighted if you'd follow us on socials to connect further. If you enjoyed this show, why not share it with your friends? If you found good value, chances are they will too. And of course, a 5-star review on iTunes is always greatly appreciated, as much as I appreciate you listening. So until next time, live life naturally and joyfully.